Going on out there, Sean.
What's up, guys? This is Codes.
Matthew Anthony here.
Hey guys, Anammer here.
Hi, my name's Golf.
Mac Vaughn here.
My name's Winter.
Dom Kane. Bjorn Ackerson.
Julian Gray.
Christian Vance.
The Secrets.
U.S.
Horticulture.
Alvin Dad.
Austin Hot.
Okay, hold on. I'm fixing it. I gotta fix it. I gotta fix it. Gotta fix it. It's gonna be okay, Sid.
It's fine.
What else?
Oh, we're nearly there. I'm sure people can hear us.
I know. I know. Hi, everybody. I don't know.
Hi, everyone.
That's a bit. That's a bit. Yes.
Yes. There we go. There we go.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Sonic Academy Live. We thought we'd start off with a mistake this week just to get that out of the way, and
the show can only get better from here. That's what you think. It's
oh my
just
god!
gonna go downhill.
It literally crashed as we were doing the countdown, and every time OBS resets, everything goes red. I have no idea why. So
I don't know why you keep tuning every week to watch this calamity. It's just,
Should we just start again?
Yeah. Look, just pretend you forgot everything. You've seen anything. Just hi,
welcome.
Hi.
Will we play the promo again? Just start again.
Promo, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I do. I apologize. We do sometimes. We've shown you the setup before. There's a lot of stuff going on for one computer to handle, and all the streams going back and forth, and we're doing this remotely. And yeah, look, things happen, So thank you very much for everybody joining in. We have our usual people. We've got Miss Cosmic Cat. We've got Chris Francis. We've got Tidris. Sonair DJ, is he in tonight? Is Sonair DJ in tonight? Tidris has got a track in tonight, I believe.
Don't know about that. I don't know about. I think they were just sending the.
They were sending the remix stuff. Yes, I would like to apologize for the screw up and the remix stuff. It is a continual problem in Sonic Academy where we have to work out Pacific time. What is that in GMT? And then when it is GMT, is it BST?
Do you know those like when you see in those like fancy offices where you have like all the different clocks on the wall? You have like New York, London, Brazil. You have to get like all.
You think that would solve the problem, but no, I'd still get it. So yeah, the remix competition I think is now closed.
Yeah, we were going to do it tonight, but I think because of the mix-up, we'll probably leave it till next week. We'll do the announcement, and it gives us a bit more time to sort of check through everyone's tracks. And if are we going to extend the openings?
I don't know. Do people want to extend the openings?
If people want it open for a wee bit longer,
you let us know. I am on the wine again this week, Lady in Red.
Yeah, it's been a tough week. It's been a tough week. So, Phil, tell me, how was your week? Well, we had a bit of a socially distant party on Saturday night, and I'm still not quite recovered from that.
He has been a grumpy bollocks all week.
Grumpier than usual, you mean?
Grumpier than me, which is saying something because I'm the grumpiest bastard in the world. So,
it was nice to let loose. It's been a while, you know what I mean. And we've got a nice wee front garden, so the missus had all her mates round, and then they all caused havoc. So all good.
Is anybody let loose out there? Have you had a party yet? Are you still locked up, or is it kind of starting to feel free? You're meeting friends? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for everybody. Let's get some shout outs to Kenny D, to Tidris again, to Burgess Low, Porridge. We've got Kava. Kava has signed his deal with Anjuna Beats, which is pretty bloody amazing, isn't it?
Yes. And what is it? Was he a remix winner or?
He won the remix competition, didn't he?
Is that right?
What? Who? JTech maybe, was it? So, we've got 3 people who won the Jerome Ismay competition, and we've just recently got Bobby Vickery, who we need to set the record straight because we owe not an apology. We said that he won the System Glitch, won the synthwave competition, where actually his artist name is Bobby Vickery. The remix name was System Glitch. And then I sent him over to New Retrowave and to Michael Oakley, and they started calling him Ron. He emailed me during the week going, "You're calling me System Glitch. They're calling me wrong. My name is bloody Bobby Vickeries."
Well.
So I apologise.
When the track
Bobby
goes out to the million people,
yes, 1,000,000 people.
it'll be grand.
That would be pretty cool. So we're going to hopefully get a fix my mix in for next week for Bobby. He just sent us the track today, so what we might get that in. Phil will, you're kind of really well versed in synthwave and how to get those synthwavy sounds and what reverbs to
I'll
use and stuff.
have a look
So
at it. Send us the stems and we'll take a look at that next week.
We should say to Bobby Vickery, System Glitch is a great name, by the way. Me and Michael Oakley had a discussion.
I thought it was a good name.
It's a cool name. Yeah.
System Glitch, was that a game?
What was he said? It was from some movie. It was from a movie. He thought it was kind of some sort of 80s reference.
System Shock,
so.
I was thinking of.
So,
System Shock was a really good game in the 90s. It was the precursor to BioShock.
Right, yeah.
And Prey, which I'm playing at the minute actually. It's really good.
Playing a game?
Yeah, Prey. It's a Bethesda game. If anyone likes like BioShock and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. And are you still driving?
Yes, I'm playing Forza at the minute. Yeah, I've ditched the F1 because it was just a bit too dramatic. But we were doing multiplayer online on the thing, and you just ended up behind a pace car the whole time because everyone kept crashing. So Forza's a bit more chilled out.
Good fun.
We've also got Matt on the show, by the way.
Yes, we have royalty tonight. We have King Unique coming up in hopefully about 5-10 minutes, and he is utterly grey because he was up to 3 a.m. Finishing off his course for this Friday. So he quickly turned around. Arturia, if you don't know, have released a OBX AV, and he's done a course on how to use that.
Yeah.
And so he was having real problems with computers last night, and 3 a.m. he finished, and then I woke him up at 9 o'clock to go, "Where's the edit? Have you got it? Can I have this?" So, and then he's on the show tonight.
And he's going to do demos as well. I think we're going to test that out for the first time, building up to sort of getting guests and stuff on. So we're going to try King Unique on the demos. So it won't just be me and Chris. It'll now be the 3 of us.
Me, Chris, and the wise man that is King Unique. I want to say congratulations to DRL here. He's just said on the chat that he signed. Remember the prog track we played of DRL a few weeks back? He's just signed it to Full Tilt Recordings.
Oh, very good.
So coming out in a few weeks. Full Tilt, is that?
That's a local thing,
Is that Timmy?
I don't know. Is it?
It's either Timmy or remember it was Timmy and Tommy. I think it might be Tommy that runs Full Tilt.
There you go.
So of Timmy and Tommy fame. Timmy does a lot of work in the background for us. So well done. And so that's it. Just how's everyone out there? How's everyone doing? How you're Phil? You're just recovering.
Yes, I'm fine. I've been just working on some drums stuff.
So yeah, we're going to talk drums tonight, aren't we? What drum stuff you were? I don't know if we're allowed to show drum stuff. Do you want to show? Oh look, what's that? What's this?
You've seen this before?
No.
Not seen this before.
No. Go on. What's that?
What is this?
What's this? That looks like a 909. That looks like a 808.
That doesn't look like an 808. Yeah, just a wee thing we're messing about with. Why do I keep switching with the swipe? That's all gone wrong. I apologize.
So guys,
what about drum? What do you do? Because with working with this plugin, I have been trying to figure out is there a better solution for drums, or what is the best solution for drums? And I mean, I think if you're using Ableton, I don't think there's much better than Ableton drum racks, is there?
No, and some watching courses and stuff. Some producers have a mixture of some people, make drums on the timeline.
Mm.
Some buy drum racks. Some, I tend to have full kits of hi-hats.
So you were using EXS24 and just putting a bunch of stuff across the keyboard range.
So you just put in the pattern, and then you could just step up and step down and go, oh, that's the sound I want, and then you open up a full EX24 of just claps, and you go like that.
Have you ever used like pattern sequencing or anything like that?
Never, ever, ever.
Have you ever like got a hi hat and like done anything interesting with it?
Yeah, I sometimes use as a bit of an. Every time we test audio in here, I say the same thing, and it's about me making a hi-hat pattern using an arm, and it drives them all.
I think it was the one tech tip that Chris did like a million years ago. We showed us.
So yeah, I use a mixture. I've never programmed on. Sometimes I would program on the timeline. Sometimes it's a mixture of everything. Sometimes it's a bit of AXS24. It's a bit of
you would actually drop stuff on the timeline, like you wouldn't.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you're just grabbing an.
Like crashes and stuff.
This is probably crashes and stuff. This is probably prior to Quick Sampler, which is simpler. So I'd probably use that now. I'd actually use a plugin because you'd have a little bit more quicker control. I was been on Logic all this week, editing up some effects and stuff for a new pack.
Yeah.
And whilst it has all the warping that's Ableton has, it's still really buggy, right? So here's the thing: if you time stretch, if you sort of warp an audio file to a tempo, if you then reverse that, it just goes all wonky. If you try and do any other editing, as soon as you've got it in, it just goes all wonky. And it's just loads of real bad bugs in it that it kind of it really depresses you. The way I think with Ableton, you can really rip apart audio and stretch it and mess with it and mangle it, and it just seems to sort of work. Whereas
I mean, they've got that sort of thing nailed, the sort of clip based stuff. I'd be interested to see if Logic developed down that path. I mean, for drums, I'm pretty much stuck in drum racks, but then I do a lot of processing externally from drum racks, but I suppose that makes it easy in live, but it'd be nice to have something that was...
I'd love to know, Ejeka, how does he program his drums? What does he use? What's the program? Some people are Push 2, saying it's really, really good.
Yeah.
A good one sitting there.
I think I remember what it was like.
Do you know what? I was actually going halfway to your house the other day. I was going, should I just drive one down and knock the door and just leave it there? And
throw it in the hallway?
What do you call those? I can't pronounce it. Eculinian generators, sort of loop generators. Yeah. Which we have. What do you call them? Protoculture is going to do tech tips on using these for creating sequences.
Yeah, there's a couple of cool ones. Max for Live.
We have next week. We have a really, really cool course call from a company called Stash and Slate and Ash, and it's their plugin called Cycles.
Oh yes, that looks cool.
Yeah, so Kirk DeGiorgio has done a really, really cool course on that.
Should we get Matt on?
Yeah, let's call him.
Call Matt.
Say hello, Matt. See how he programs his
I'm not
going
to go into studio mode again, just in case it crashes. So we'll just basically you can go into studio mode and we can set up something in the background and then like cut over to it. But when we did that, it all crashed. So I'm just going to just.
It'd be really funny if he doesn't answer. So he's there. So you can go 3-way.
Let's see.
Goodness, it's very pink there.
Isn't it? Hey, that worked first time. Is it almost as if we're professional or something?
Well, I don't like to brag about it, but yeah. I'm just bringing a little bit of expertise and class to the show this week.
It's certainly class. How are you, Matt?
I'm spiffing, mate. Absolutely spiffing, as you know.
Yeah, I know you're a little tired. He was eating bangers and mash not an hour ago, so he is.
Yeah, you can tell. That's why I look a fucking lot better than an hour ago. Got the slightly rosy glow. Have you two got a filter on? I was just looking on the YouTube earlier, and you two are like kind of like you're on sunbeds.
I did. I put. Hold on. Do you want to up your filter a bit?
There is a lockdown on, folks. I mean, it's not be fair.
Yeah, but it has been sunny, to be fair.
Yeah, well, for those of us who aren't sat inside and learning about Oberheim.
Yeah, I see you put on a pink T-shirt because we have attractive pink lights behind us, and Matt is now sporting a pink T-shirt.
There's a bit more colour for you.
And as mentioned earlier in a discussion previously,
yeah.
Speaking of pink,
the fucking bucket size. Can you explain what the fucking bucket is, please?
Yeah, this is. I have to explain. The first thing I have to do is big props to my lovely girlfriend partner, the professional rebel. This is the Fuck It bucket, into which people place their fucking woes and shit they are done with, and so you get it out your head and gone. So there we go. That is the pinkness dealt with.
How is the Fuck It bucket not overflowing these days and these times?
Let me just try and get the angle on the camera for you there.
Oh, it is.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
It's a daily job emptying the fucker. It just pours all over the place. Yeah, but it's good. Everybody should have one. If you don't have one, get one. Get one and get rid of the shit that you do not need anymore.
And do you find it a cathartic experience? Does it improve your?
Sorry. Does it improve? Yes, it really does. Because I don't know. I mean, it's like it's not like you need to have a good fucking grumble as your way of life. But if you have a very sort of very fast, very contracted grumble, that's your day done.
Yeah, you get it out of the way.
And then it's done.
Matt,
that's
would you just tell us a bit about your career? Because I think probably there's a few people on here who may not know about the awesomeness of King Unique, etc.
Yeah, it just went on for fucking ever. God, it just went on and on and on. And it was like, because somebody just fucking let me go. It was like, it was all right. It was okay.
And how did it start? And what was your sort of first big sort of break moment? And
it started. I was basically I moved to Liverpool mid-90s because I was from Chester, which is not big enough to support a music career. So I went to Liverpool and just literally knocked on doors, answered adverts, anything to try and do something in sort of sound and music. And eventually ended up via all kinds of exciting adventures working as a tape op in one of the big 24-track studios there.
Nice.
I hope you're joining the movement to save Par Street Studios.
The frustrating thing is the guy who was basically hooking me up with this opportunity, he rang Par Street and I've got this very promising lad here. It's very promising lad. I think he's exactly what you want for a tape op. And they were like, oh, we just took this guy on last week. And I was like, oh.
So
the guy they took on last week, I forget his name, but he basically worked on all of the Coldplay albums, and he now is a massive producer himself. A week too late, but yeah. So no, Par Street's a great place. So I basically just sort of did 2 years of running cables, making tea, getting pasties for pissed off Scouse guitar bands, and then sort of sideways stepped into dance music. I did some Pro Tools work when doing Pro Tools work was you were kind of £300 a minute.
I remember probably mid-90s Pro Tools, fixing drums and retiming things was an actual career, and a bloody good career, because I remember a friend of mine, Richard, he was recording U2's albums and stuff, and he kept saying to me, learn Pro Tools and just come down and fix drums, and you can get loads of dosh.
Well, I had various DJs who remain nameless because obviously they were all doing it honestly with vinyl. But people who think the early vinyl compilations were all done by hand, they weren't. You did it in Pro Tools. Yeah. You turned up and you played the record, and the guy did the actual real mix. But if you didn't like it, you just went back and mixed against the Pro Tools track and again, so you got the good mix. And then you let the record play till you got to the end, and you did the next mix, and you got it again till you got the good mix.
Okay, so you were taking mix. So he was mixing on vinyl.
Yeah.
But you were doing several takes of the mix.
Exactly.
And then splicing in the good. The good one.
That was it. And so you could only adjust the tempo one platter to make sure you didn't sort of have a weird edit when you kind of went back to put it all together.
Yeah.
So I kind of met a few big names doing that, and then just random chance, Matthew, I did King Unique. We've kind of wandered in one day saying, "Does anybody play keyboards? Can we make mad noises?" And I was like, "Well, I can." And so again, I've cut through lots of very quickly.
At that stage, had you got synths at that stage? Were you playing or programming and stuff at that stage?
Yeah, that was my thing all along. Basically, I kind of went there and they were like, "Oh, you'll be like a tape op and then an assistant engineer and an engineer." And I looked at the hours and I was like, "Fuck that." Not a fucking chance. I'll be a programmer. I'll kind of drip in, kind of go, "Hello," blah, 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 set all the sounds up and fuck off again. That's brilliant. So I did that, and I did that with Matt for a bit on his stuff. We did speaking of U2, we did a U2 remix really early on. Remember, I was on the dole, fucking absolutely skint and remixing U2. It was okay, this is a bit of a jump.
Did the same.
Yeah, so that was it, and then kind of pretty much 97 that was, and then a couple of years later, he and I began working together full time, and Yeah, we did a lot of remixes. I think we were more remixy than producey. So like we did about 80 or something in the end. It was ridiculous.
Did you prefer remixing than producing?
Oh God,
Or,
yeah,
much because he had all the. It was like
You used
here's
to
the
get good
parts.
money back in the day as well. I remember.
Stunning.
Yeah.
Well,
It was great.
tell the very famous story about the thing that's behind you.
Buzz here. Which famous story? There's a lot.
The famous story about a year ago. I was chatting to you. The doorbell rang, and you went, "Sorry, I have to go. It's DHL here. Take away."
Oh yeah. Well, basically, we made a lot of silly money, and so I didn't know what to do with silly money because I'd been unemployed for so long. I got quite kind of okay with being skint, which is like a really people listening. That's the key habit to make it music. Be okay with being skint for a long time. Like it won't work otherwise. Top tip. So I was okay with being skint. I suddenly had all this money, and I literally genuinely didn't know what to do with it. So I was like, no, I'll buy spacesuits. so I bought loads of old Apollo spacesuits that you could get on eBay in those days for quite cheap, and then they stopped being cheap, and I sold them all again about a year ago.
I mean, imagine you had so much money that you go, do you know what? I'm going to buy Apollo spacesuits. That's the thing that I need in my life.
It's really rock and roll, isn't it? It's so
you were doing remixes though as well, Chris, around the good money remix times.
We were never remixing though. We didn't do. We did a few. I remember Shakeen doing some god awful remix, and he phoned us, and we said, "Why'd you do that?" And he said, "I genuinely kept spurting out these ridiculous fees to try and put them off because I didn't want to be really bad guy and say I don't want to do it." But he said, "Oh, it'll be 25 grand," and they kept coming back going, "Yeah, okay." And he's like, "Oh God." and he said, "But it was, it was 25 G's," and it was just like, so it was mad. How did you handle, Matt, then the whole transition to the online and the whole, because it was something we struggled with when you were selling traditional records and then the sales plummeted and everything went online and stuff. How did King Unique handle that sort of transition about 2002, 3?
All the distributors went busting.
Yeah, it was a weird time. I mean, we were kind of cushioned, I think, because if you were very remix based, I think the slow kind of like lash of the tail it takes to kind of get right to the end.
Yeah.
And I think remixing was right down at the very far end. So like we were still getting paid like decent money, not like 25 grand. We were never Chicane famous, but we were still getting like, good, like, spend a week or two on it and go home going, that's 2 months paid for, hooray. Mm-hmm. And we were doing that for like, say, we did the first Killers record when they were like just some unknown little band they were trying to break in the UK. And they'd released, somebody told me, and it just bombed. It just went to like number 76 or something. So they were trying to like just get a really strong package, get that back out again. So we remixed, somebody told me, and like Zane Lowe got all over our record, and like, hottest record in the world right now, all that sort of stuff. So we had like a second sort of remix career on that sort of, as electro came in, that electro, what became electro house, which was grim as fuck. But that first sort of front end with like Tiga and LCD and all that stuff, we kind of got, we weren't that fucking, but that committed, but we were in that sort of zone. And so we got quite a bit of remix work again, 2005-06 off the back of that. And then we had a staffing reduction because the Roberts finally had enough, and so he left. And so, of course, going from 2 people to 1, that smoothed out the bump for me quite nicely in the income.
Oh, okay, yeah. Suddenly you were on double wages.
Yeah, it was honestly, until things finally reached a point, it's like, okay, now like literally nothing sells, nothing makes anything. There's no remix budget. At which point, okay, just one of us doesn't help much. But that took me through until I don't know, like 2012, 13, before I really had to feel like, okay, these are lean times now, lean times.
Yeah. And you're still very much in the Bedrock camp and around John Digweed and all that sort of stuff. You're contributing to, is it their anniversary album or something? Is that?
Yeah, they did a big remix thing recently. I nearly contributed to it. I got to say, I didn't. I was asked to pick somebody to remix. No, it wasn't. It's only awkward in that I let them down dramatically.
Oh, you did? Right, okay.
Basically, about 3 years ago, John asked me to remix somebody. I can't say, obviously, it could be awkward. I'd not ever did actually finish it. And I said, yeah, I'll definitely do that. And then I was sort of doing a degree at the time, and I didn't ever finish it. And so, like, literally about a year ago, I was like, listen, that remix, you never finished. Like, you never finished. I never gave you any shit about it. Please finish it, but just get it done. Just get it done. And so I kind of got it 80% done, and then I just didn't quite finish it. So it's been 3 years. I've had the parts.
Will you ever finish it?
I Well, as I said earlier, my ears have gone now, so I don't know. I've got kind of monster tinnitus, and so I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can really do sort of like remixes without getting an engineer in, and I can't do that in COVID times.
Okay.
So I don't
engineer
know.
it for you. Sure, we'll do a virtual session.
Yeah, Phil, can you describe the top end to me? Is it whispery or gusty?
Yeah. So when we're demo doctoring tonight, me and Phil are going to judge the top end, and Matthew's going to judge the bottom end. So,
I'm hell on wheels for mid-range.
So, we were talking about drums earlier on. How did you program your drums? Did you program on timeline drum racks? Did you use any sort of suites, like battery or anything like that?
Yeah, on the timeline. I mean, I think one thing which I think is interesting looking at music tech these days is it took us like a fortnight, typically sort of 7 or 8 to 10 working days to do a remix, and we were slow even then. I knew that. But because we'd sort of come from doing it in the mid 90s, like when hard disk recording just kind of came into Logic and stuff, things like working in the timeline was it. It was that or nothing.
Yeah.
And so I think we built up a ton of habits that were based on the sort of the first way you could do it, and we never really bothered updating.
Yeah.
There
was
music tech now is so instant.
The only other drum machine about at the time was the F expansion. Was it?
Yeah,
DRO5 or something, or DRO8, or I can't remember. But it was like the only other
another one. Yeah.
plugin you could get.
So that's the thing is I think if there was like one trend in like the last 5-10 years of music gear, it's just nothing's new. There's nothing remotely new to listen to, but fucking hell, you can like just click your finger and it's done.
Yeah.
It's absolutely stunning how fast you can work now.
Yeah. I think that's plugin manufacturers look at production problems and go, how do we solve it? There's kind of no new generation of sounds or ways to generate it, but it's like how can we get your workflow as fast as possible?
Well, that's it. I mean, what we did as offline is now online. I think that's the thing is like I recognize now that there is for us, like I don't know, like performing effects would like it's an oxymoron. Like no, you just sit down and program the fuckers up and place them. Whereas now, like you get a controller, get some fucking like great plugins, and like you can actually like in some way you're a virtuoso guitarist, you can be a virtuoso performer of any technology. If you actually go into the weird corners of YouTube, there are people who do the weirdest fucking shit with stuff, and it's like that's fascinating because it's stopping being an offline considered production process, and everything is now actually potentially a performance, and that's quite fascinating.
I think the one big area that still hasn't been solved is collaboration. I think it's still an awkward area that I'd love somebody to come along and just go, right, here it is.
That Tim XL thing we were looking at earlier.
Yeah.
That, what's it called? Something Studio?
Endless Studio. So there might be something there. Did you see how seamless that segue was?
Was that a segue?
A total segue. It was like people think that.
It just felt like a blunt sort of topic change, really. I just felt like I'd come on here to sell something and just being sidelined. It's outrageous.
Yeah.
So this is a guy. He's trying to sort of from your mobile device to your studio to your and collaborative, and will update. Kind of probably like the audio movers we're sending you that updates the project. As somebody does something remote, remotely, it updates your project. So probably think of it like Google Docs, but
I mean, the big thing that's fascinating, I think, is going to, we're saying there's been no change, like nothing new particularly.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you follow the AI development that's going on.
Yeah, there's some crazy stuff.
That's fascinating. There's like, if you want to, people are listening, if anybody's listening, if you Google, I forget the name of the video, but it's something like AI, oh, fucking hell. Yeah, this is a really good anecdote, this, I should do more.
What's
the guy?
Never gonna give you.
Never gonna give. That's the one. Yeah, never gonna give it. Yeah, the what's his name? What's that guy?
Rick Astley.
Rick Astley. I was stuck on Rick Wakeman. I was going, it's not fucking Rick Wakeman. So if you Google, the Rick Astley AI, and then like if you go beyond that YouTube, there's like a link to the actual source code and the thousands of examples they've done.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's interesting. It's weird as fuck currently, but I was kind of think like if you could make your interesting bar or 2 bars and then go to this machine, okay, just fucking fill me up.
Yeah.
And that kind of arranges the song and plays it out for you. Is that what the vibe is?
It's not that coherent, but it's going to like just create more parts. It just like it's like they give it like 4 bars of Rick, and then they say to the AI, just make like another 3 minutes of that, please, and it just goes fucking crazy, like inventing new. And you can also give it typewritten lyrics.
Okay.
You can write in the lyrics, and it just kind of goes, okay, and then it generates him going, you up, I'll fetch you a cat, whatever it is.
All those EDM producers 5 years ago called them ghost producers.
yeah, it's not going to be not needed anymore. And this, I mean, I could go on honestly. There's a thing called style transfer, which is even crazier. Where like you have like one thing, and you take the style from a second thing, and you impose it. That's currently done with imagery, but they're starting to do it with sound. So you could like have, say, like I don't know, Blue Monday, New Order, Blue Monday playing on the left hand, and then kind of get, I don't know, like the Strokes on the right hand, and go, I want the sound of the Strokes on, and it starts playing Blue Monday in the style of the Strokes. Now it's still experimental currently, but already even experimental stuff creates insane fucking noises.
I have to check that. That sounds class.
People should be on that because that's where mad stuff is going to happen next. I guarantee you.
Jack on the chat says Vocaloid. We tried Vocaloid. I found it just creepy.
Yeah, I played with Vocaloid.
It was just a bit like, ooh.
Yeah, Vocaloid.
But what were you sending us today? You were sending us some vocally thing.
Yeah, that was. Like, I don't know where that is gone now, but well.
Yeah, that creeped us out.
Yeah, I don't know where that is.
Don't worry. We'll find it for next week. Robbie McCammon has said he sent you the wrong mix, and he sent you a new one via email. I think it's probably too late at this stage,
yeah,
Robbie.
That ship has unfortunately sailed.
I think we're just going to go for it. Look, we'll dive into some doctoring here. The doctor's in the house. Mr. King Unique.
Oh, the doctor. Awesome. Standby nurse.
Standby nurse, scalpel. So yeah, look, we try and be positive. No need to put any mixes in the
We try to be constructive.
So I can't just put the whole mix in the fuck it bucket then?
No, you can't put the whole mix in the bucket.
Well, I don't see why not. Matt can do whatever he wants.
Matt can do whatever he wants. You can all blame Matt, sure. When he goes off the... Oh, there we go.
That's us.
So who's this from, Phil? 7 of Clubs. Hello, 7 of Clubs. I see you're on the chat tonight.
No, this is not 7 of Clubs.
Oh, it's not.
This is Staying Low, Pure Heart.
Staying Low. If you're on the chat, say hello and welcome along. So, Matt, you can hear this okay? You've got this on your headphones?
There's just two guys talking, but yeah.
You can't hear the track, no?
No, I can. I'm fine.
Oh, okay. So far, kind of interesting mix of kick drum and bass.
Can you see yourself grooving to that in the club, Matt?
I am. This is me having it.
Yeah.
Giving it large. That organ stop's quite loud, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. It's kind of it's kind of making other previously very big things feel a bit incidental.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Yeah, the kick and sort of bass are sort of drowned out now. They don't get the sort of impact. Something's going to happen.
Something going to happen?
Sort of thing I say to Chris every week is if you had that on your own, in front of you in a DAW to make sort of change, what would you do to it to sort of improve it, Matt?
It's missing some percussion for me personally. Obviously a caveat in everything I say is for me personally, obviously the guy making the record knows what he's trying to do. Yeah, it kind of felt like the big kind of kick was good. There was a nice sort of soft, crunchy open hat. But it was just like an open goal saying people go really fucking quite happy if you at any point bring in a dirty, short, fast at some point. It was just kind of sitting there begging to be done.
Yeah.
But maybe he's going to save it for after the breakdown. In which case,
this is quite interesting.
Wow.
I don't know.
I quite appreciate this type of thing, right?
Yeah, I kind of do. It's kind of it's pushing. It's, you know, it's different.
As long as it kicks back and it goes, you know what I mean? And
yeah, it's drawn me in. I like it.
Yeah, it's very odd and weird, and the piano was almost like like bizarre and toyish or something, but it sort of kind of smashed in there, and it was
definitely it was a Korg, definitely an M1 piano. But can you imagine hearing that? I mean, if you were 2 a.m. Matt in space in Ibiza, and that came on, it would just be like it'd be like a head screw. You'd be just like,
yeah, it's a bit. It's a little bit schizophrenic in the choice of sounds. Kind of feels a little bit like sort of half of it's been mixed, like a kind of very earnest techno record. But then there's a few sounds there you kind of go like, okay, no, you can definitely use a piano, but you need to work it a little.
Yeah.
It sounds a little bit like it's coming out of a GM module. Like, I need a piano. There's a piano, done. Whereas the rest of it sounds really kind of like quite crunchy and interesting. I mean, the actual musicality comes down with that, but it sounds a bit fun.
That over the top for me there.
I mean, that's getting into Cafe Del Mar sort of territory there, isn't it? Well, I don't know. It's kind of.
I think if you'd had a sort of better mix on that, and sort of balance some of the sounds better, some of that craziness could be kept in there, you know.
I'd love to know what Ejeka thinks, because this is kind of in his area. There you go.
Yeah,
Stand low.
It's a
Thank
weird
you very
one,
much.
isn't it? Because some of it's quite almost offensive, and the pianos and like sort of it, as Matt says, like GM, it sort of sounds like a super beginner. But then there's other bits that sound like really fresh and like that it's trying to do something different and original with the genre. If you sort of mix that all and had it all balanced nicely, and all transitions with some of those like crazy elements, just like be super cool and super genius.
Look, I appreciate, because it was different. It was kind of drawn. That middle bit drew us in. It's sort of like what's going on here, and I get the GM sounds, but I kind of like that sort of juxtaposition of where it was kind of techno-y, RP bassline, but it did get a bit trancey, sort of Cafe Del Mar, big sort of. But I really, really appreciate it actually pushing boundaries a little bit. It's going outside the comfort zone, and I'd rather listen to that than something that is just like the atypical trance track or something. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the big sort of reference point, the way to talk about records I always find usefully is to sort of like go listen to this record and like work out how that works and get it in yours. And the one I'd say is for anybody trying to bring in the sort of the uplifting cheese piano but not press the cheese button, is Paul Woolford. See what he does with them. He's very, very good at doing that kind of like sort of, I'm going to pull in like a real 86, 87 proper like, kind of like could go either way reference, and it will always go the right way when he mixes and sort of selects his sounds. So
I mean, Paul Woolford, it's a huge skill what he does there, isn't it? Just that sort of, and Ejeka does the same. He gets, Transwax, just gets on that line, and then it's just about, and then pulls back, and that is the genius, isn't it? That's the real clever. It is.
I mean, you can analyze that. I think that's the thing. Is to bear in mind, with anything genius, it's like if you've got it naturally, fucking great, well done. If you haven't got it naturally, you can analyze almost anything. Almost anything can be like worked out how it's gone on. So just sit down with the guy who likes records or the reference you're interested in. Sit down with 3 of them and just work out what's going on. Write down, is the hat loud? Is the hat soft? Is it sharp edged? Is it bright? Is the big hat brighter than the little hat? All this crap, work it through. And there is a formula to almost anything. And so there was something about his pianos that makes them like, that's a fucking great house piano, as opposed to, that's a bit GM. The chords, musically, everything I'm down with, just pick the sound a bit better, and that's flying.
Yeah. See, am I the only one that liked the piano, that liked the sound as well? Because it was just, to me, it was a Korg piano. I was like, I love this. It was like the Korg 16 piano. That's an M1, isn't it?
Just a bit randomly played, though, isn't it?
It is. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
Like a lot of it,
with you. But
a lot of that
interesting.
stuff was sampled, wasn't it? Even at the time, people were like sampling an M1 chord and it went through like a 12-bit sampler and sounded a bit grainy, and they sort of got that kind of like, the single like 3 or 4 notes which they just played with one finger up and down the keyboard sort of thing.
Yeah.
And all this it's small shit. It shouldn't matter, but it really, like, we're picky fuckers in our ears. We really know.
We've sort of talked about that
copy that stuff
a few times, about a lot of the tracks to us sound like they're straight from the DAW, straight from a plugin, whereas previous generations of tracks had been through a mixing desk, as you said, been through a sampler, probably various other chains through an effect, and then and they didn't sound in the box. They sounded, there's a different sound to it, and I think users need to sort of explore ways of getting that crunch or difference, or making it sound a bit like it's not just sort of coming straight out of a plugin into your speakers.
Yes, clinical. Just removing the sort of clinicalness of it all.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, if all three of us think about the very first gear we used, the fucking rubbish and artifacts that stuff introduced, despite our best intentions.
Yeah.
And you were reacting to it, you were hearing it, and you were reacting to it in every sort of EQ choice, every level choice. You were hearing that fuzz and weird shit and going, oh, that's quite nice, or that's fucking terrible. But you had it going on.
Yeah.
And I think, like, if you don't have that ever happening to you, you're just left with, I wanted a piano.
Doing masters and
have a hi-hat.
the channels. Everyone getting like 3 people into like
Yeah.
holding the mute buttons for
And,
different
like,
channels at different times. And
exactly, the mistakes that happen, the clicks, little bits, where a tail or something gets cut off or comes in like a half bar early. All that shit is, it's don't fake it with automation. Just do it. Create situations where you actually have to do part of your mix down live. Put some of the fucking mutes underneath, like, your controller buttons, and actually do them. Make yourself do them.
Cool, yeah. Cool. Next up, we have 7 of Clubs. I know 7 of Clubs is in the chat tonight. Welcome along. Hello. Now we're going to try and be as gentle as we can because you're here live. Do you listen to any dance music at the moment, Matt, or is it completely left of field stuff you're listening to?
I listen to a little. I'm kind of mainly in the left field stuff, as you say, but what have I listened to? It's no longer straight club stuff. I kind of the moderates and the apparats, that kind of stuff is more what I'm kind of like put my time into.
Okay. It's all very polite, it's all very nice. At the moment, it's all nice mix down, nice sounds.
Do you want something more going on there?
Yeah, kind of.
We get tracks like this quite frequently, don't we? Where it's sort of it's hard to say that there's anything wrong with it, but it's not really blowing your mind in terms of making you feel something or doing something at this stage. But it's very pleasant.
It's well produced. It's all sitting nicely. I haven't got a hook yet, and will I remember this once I get my 3rd glass of wine? I'm not too sure.
It's do you guys listen to iMusic at all?
To what?
iMusic. It's kind of that. It's a German guy. He's kind of big sort of prog melodic trance, and he references a lot of these kind of like sort of the sort of 70s Klaus Schulze, Asherah, that sort of thing. This would work for him, but it would need, as you say, like mixing so that you knew what was a melody and where the moments were. It's just going along as opposed to sort of insisting that you listen to it.
Yeah,
and don't really do with it.
On a practical sense, what would that involve to try and bring it from where it is now to make it more engaging? You think sort of be more definite about what where the melody is and sort of the parts, or?
Okay, and we got a song now, so that throws everything in there.
Yeah.
Choices, able time to serve that. Don't want to believe it. With you, I'm leaving.
That's a nice vocal.
It's a nice vocal, but at 7 Club, I'm going to be probably slightly harsh. I'm a bit I just wanted to move forward or be exciting, a bit more exciting. It's a bit, you know.
Yeah. Again, you know,
I mean,
you're
that
doing
part-
something
that-
more
that
with
part
those
there-
vocals. You know, they could have a big delay coming out of them, and this could be sort of a big build-up, and you could be creating a bit of, you know, chaos and.
Yeah,
could-
it's big swoop up. It's all. I imagine that in the club, and I'd be standing there on the dance floor going,
Yeah, you need some
Have I
momentum
got,
there.
should I book the taxi now to go home, or you know? Let's have a listen to the drop then.
Yeah, basically, if you're listening, if you're not an iMusic fan, really sort of, you know, when this stream is over, go straight to Spotify and listen to like the last 2 years of iMusic. He's got a label iMusica as well.
So, can you
and
spell that
it's
for
like
us,
a-
Matt? Just
EINMUSIK, like one music in German, iMusic. That's the guy's name, and his label's iMusica with an A on the end.
right.
This sort of thing is like it's like a sort of like a toned down, not really delivering iMusic track. Now, it's not millions of miles away from being a delivering good track, but it's all in the mixing. The synths are like competing to be blended in and hide in the background. And it's like not everything can be bedded in. It's very easy to kind of get when you're mixing on that sort of thing of bedding everything together carefully. And it's like, that's fine, but that's the sort of base on which something should be holding your attention. And this is very like determined that everything is going to bed in. Nothing's actually kind of like saying, well, listen to me, I'm the fucking hook, or I'm bobbing your head to. Or so on an iMusic track, very simply, these synths would be tons louder. There will be something a little groovier happening with the beat, not much more, but it would have a bit more sort of pump to it. This is just a bit too deep. But we're not talking about a huge difference, really. It's just sort of be bold in making one of the synth lines an actual fucking hook. Because
I think that's an important thing, is to sometimes you have to prioritize. Look, what's the background sort of atmos and sort of vibe, and what is the hook here? What is the main synth? And when you're mixing down, you have to push those things forward and go. You know, it's almost like on stage with actors. You have to go. You're the lead actor, and you're the the chorus behind.
Yeah.
And you have to try and think of it in that terms to sort of push somebody forward in the mix, and go, it's your time to shine. Whereas this, there's nothing really. I like the voice. I take it. Is it from a sample pack? Seven Clubs, if you can let us know, or have you got a vocalist? Because if you've written this song, this is brilliant, and you need to build something better around it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's from a sample pack, it doesn't matter if it's from a sample pack or if they've written it. You know, should they not be trying to do the same thing with it either way?
But if they've written it, I think they've written something very, very clever and strong.
Okay.
Listen, it's fine. It's pleasant. It's polite, and we kind of say week in, week out. Just don't be too polite. Be a little bit ballsy in places and go. Do you know what? And push yourself forward and go. This is my track here. Listen and make people have to walk away and go, geez, what was that track? Whereas I think we walk away tonight and maybe go and not remember that. It would be.
I think
my
setting
issue.
up your sections as well. Just from a technical point of view, the transitions there, you weren't there was no milking happening. You weren't sort of building things up. You could be exploiting that vocal and put reverbs and sort of sweeps in and use delays to sort of create build-ups and just have more content happening for the user to sort of get hooked into.
He says, what's the top 3 things you would change or add? Well, I think we'll do one each. We'll go from left to right. Phil?
Transitions, use elements of the track and put effects on them, and maybe, as Matt was saying earlier, do it live and get some controllers, delays, feedbacks, and just try and use them to create transitions and builds.
Matt?
Take away my thing about iMusic. If you're not already a fan, you will be. So jump on those, listen to how he works. One thing you'll hear straight away is that the synths, although they are kind of like borderline trancey, he also kind of sets them up to sound like a bit like the sort of 70s stuff that informed like trance. It's like if you want to go on a big history mission, jump on like Ashraf and Klaus Schulze. And so to do that with like a modern kind of digital synth, I guess just get something like Front Door, that or any of the sort of like the plugins essentially give you that kind of a saturation tape desk, whatever the fuck it is. Get some of that really, first of all, to try and get it to like have a bit of dirt and like body in it, and then secondly, decide which bit you would be. If it was a story, which bit is the fucking lead character? Which bit is it's like with all our remixes, we'd kind of like always know that for this 8 bars, you're kind of going dum bum 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 dum bum. That's the bit that you're meant to be like noticing. That dum bum bum might be in the whole record, but we'd have it loud for that 8 bars, and then something else going to go bum and the bum 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 bum, which is working with it, but duck back, and your next 8 bars you listen to jang jang gang jang gang gang. It feels like you've set your levels for everything, and they sit there, and they need to swap and change and lead, and as they come forward, make the sound really interesting, like give it some grit and body.
And my would be, I don't think there's a hook in it. The vocal's great. I don't think you've built something around the vocal that complements it, that works off it, that there's a question and answer. I would, stop being so polite and sort of go, here's a big hook, and here's the memorable moment of the song with the vocal, and then there's this big synth line or something happening, or pads, or, you know, I know it's probably a warm-up track, I know it's meant to be laid back and stuff, but we still need something
I'm not sure
hooky.
it's supposed to be a warm-up track. I think that's just, inexperience kind of makes tracks sound like that, because I don't think you're milking the elements or really focusing on how it would sound in a club. I think that's something that sort of you build up a vibe to. Okay, let's go for the next one.
Like it already. Who's this from, Phil?
CDC Productions.
CDC Productions. I haven't seen them on the chat, so we can be really, really mean.
Snare's awful.
The Peruvian nose flute is great.
I really hope that's not a sample pack. I would love to see some guy in his bedroom.
It's always a hard one, because we don't know how much of these, so much stuff out there, we don't know which is just song starters that we're getting sent. It's always nice to have people on the chat, and you can ask them how's it going.
Excuse me 2 seconds. I'm just gonna go. I think my front door is banging open. Hold on.
Are you well versed in the psych trance scene?
Did Phil write this? Is that why he's gone?
Probably.
A bit embarrassed. I've got some mates in the psytrance scene, and I've done Aussie festivals where you get to like spend 3 days in the wilderness where you get to play, and I've heard psytrance through my tent.
We've done psych trance on the site, and it's a really specific sound. Like, it really has to be, it's all about that sort of twangy bass, sort of clicky click. But then, to me, the overriding thing is the sound effects that go around it. Are the big, have you got the craziest sound effects going?
But what I'm slightly concerned about, and the waveform kind of reinforces this, is if you look after the drop that's coming up, there's some seriously stern kickage. The kick now is just sort of like dusting along.
Yeah.
Not really doing much. So, I mean, if this is meant to be like a kind of 2.5 minute build up, then okay. But if it's meant to be in now, it should be in now.
It's interesting what will happen after the break here.
Yeah, sorry about that. My side gate had blown open.
Side gate was open.
And when it gets windy down here, it gets really windy. And the last time the door was banging off, it ripped the door in two. So it's best to close it.
So here, it's going to get louder for some reason.
Yeah,
But
the
it
kick
didn't.
is just not.
Yeah, the kick was definitely absolutely lost earlier on, and it's
Even more loss.
that's there's a dum bass come up at that point, I think.
Is the kick fading away? Maybe it's just a transition. They're gonna really like slam in here.
I love it too. Come on.
Come on, lad!
Oh.
Almost.
No.
I actually really like some of the sounds. I think it's a good side track, but I just that kick.
As we said in the map, said the psych trance has a very specific sound you need to set up first.
Yeah.
And nail.
I mean, if there's a passion for very quiet kicks that are absolutely swamped by the bass line, then this is fucking absolutely red hot.
There's maybe a whole genre out there that we don't know about.
Yeah, no, I think
New kick style.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah. So once the kick and the bass issue is resolved, we're all happy. It's the nose looks absolutely exceptional.
I think it is a nice track. There's some really nice synth sounds in it, and I think just if that kick was, it is hard to put it because the only thing you can think about is that kick not being there. What could have been?
It would ruin your night out, wouldn't it? If you're in a club, you're just like, where's that kick? Where? Nice build. Looks like he's milked it as well.
I'm worried about this bit.
Don't worry. I know he's got this in the bag.
Scaring me a lot.
He's nailed it. Oh, listen. Oh. It's in the bag. He's got it in the bag. Oh. Love it. Oh, Philip.
Oh, goodness.
Come on. Go.
Unusual, we'll say.
Oh, but that was very nearly utterly brilliant. Had he got the punch right?
Yeah. I think all three of us can just say kick.
Kick.
As our response to that one.
But I mean,
yeah, that
build,
transition.
that...
I'm not a fan of the anticlimax transition.
I am.
I don't mind. I think it's an age thing. I think there was. I think basically there was the initial build up to Monster Scream. That was the kind of like the 80s and 90s. Then there was the build up to Ha Gotcha, and then back in with Monster Scream. Then there was the build up to Nothing, which is kind of like 2000-y mids, and then now it's like fucking do what you like.
No,
I'm easy.
No, I think about 2005. There was the build up, and then the rebuild up again, where they would just go back.
Yeah,
and it was just
okay.
like
there was the build up, and then there was the build up on the single note,
and then stop. Do you want it to happen yet? Maybe go, and then it would happen. So
Yeah.
It became actually just ridiculous.
Well, all of those work as long as afterwards it comes in. And I think that's our takeaway today. Is it's pretty hard to sell it if it doesn't come in with a kick. As
the kids say, it is all about the drop. If you got that drop right in the club, that's your way. You've got everything. Who's the last track?
Here's the last track.
I think is it Robbie McCannon?
Yes, I think it is. I think you're quite right about that.
Robbie is on the chat. Robbie apparently is a track finder for Radio 1. He looks after getting tracks for the dance shows on Radio 1. So it'd be interesting. Thank you very much for submitting, Rob. We know it's the wrong mix, but too late to get the new one in. Oh, well, be nice.
The good thing is everything we say, you can just write "I know" in the chat.
I know. Yeah, true.
I know. Yeah. Do it.
I know the pressure.
Is this a kind of like a jungle nose flute genre? Is this like a coming thing we've not noticed?
Yeah, totally. There's a million subscribed playlist on Spotify. So guess the genre at this stage. What would you guess?
Breaks.
Breaks are coming back. They're definitely coming back.
Yeah, and Blade Runner samples aren't actually prog breaks.
My first initial thought would be a nightmare to mix.
Yeah.
Strange obsessions, after all, they are emotionally inexperienced with only a few years.
I don't think you've played the whole film. I think a couple of wee snippets of the football. Do you know what I mean? I think pick out some of the interesting bits.
Does anybody know the film?
Blade Runner.
Is it Blade Runner? Yeah.
Memories. They're talking about memories.
You're talking about memories.
I would say initially it doesn't sound, we were talking about earlier, but in the box it does sound quite sort of, there's quite a bit of grit and stuff going on.
Yeah, it's got that sort of tape saturation vibe.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so we got a slow break thing? Okay. Any comments on the snare?
I like the sound of the snare, I like the way it's sort of saturated, but maybe a bit overly loud, and the kick sounds a bit muffled and maybe over compressed or over saturated.
Yeah, I can't help feeling that there's something more kind of burial-esque on the drum choices.
In what way, Mark?
Glitchy and sort of.
Yeah, like, the kind of, I mean, obviously I'm not suggesting everybody should just rip off Burial, but he had a lovely sort of way of like picking out really kind of like sharp and nasty, that almost like garage sounds, and then treating them to put even more sort of sharpness and nastiness into them. And when you've got this big washy, the best of the music happens where two like unexpected forces collide. And if you've got washy tunes and washed out soft 808s, it's fine. You can make stuff which delivers in one way only. But if you want to be like sort of twisting people's heads a bit, this could be like a little uglier on the drums to kind of balance out the sort of beautiful music.
Yeah.
Have more of a shelf life.
I'd love to hear that kick, like a really just hitting your ear, really.
Tiny bit woolly, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit lost. It's not, again, it's about pushing that character forward, and that kick drum to me should be pushed forward and made a lead character.
It sort of feels to me like it's heading somewhere that it never gets to.
Yeah.
Like it's like I expect it sort of to drop in and go, some sort of big bass or live bass or something to come in, there's something else to kick in. It's very pleasant.
It's a really nice piece of music, isn't it? You kind of occasionally listen to these things and you've got your producer head on and you're going, well, if it's going to be a track, it's got to do this, this and this. To be a piece of music, it can be fucking anything. As a piece of music, it's lovely, but it depends if it's meant to serve a purpose, and that's what makes it a track per se. What's it for? Is this going to be in a club ever, or is it just to like fill the start of an album that then goes into harder stuff? Or it kind of depends what it's for, really.
Yeah. Robbie has posted that he made the track at 114.3 BPM.
Yeah, it's a very popular BPM these days.
Why? Why the 0.3?
It's all the rage. I was reading the whole Reddit post about 114.3 BPM.
Why?
People.
You're talking about memories.
Can I ask a favour? Can we just nip back to the loudest bit of the track, right back at the beginning, that sort of strange... No, sorry, the bit before. The louder bit. Back just... Yep, there.
Yeah,
Talking about memories.
You see, even here, the percussion is like mixed louder, and although it's still washy, the dry aspect of it is clearer, and it's kind of, you kind of think, oh, this could be about to become a track, as in like a functioning dance floor thing. But then it all becomes really sort of whooshy and quiet, and I think that the tune could use some more of this kind of like contrast, this sort of edgy, sharp stuff against all the softness.
Sounds to me like there's a good compressor on there that
the kick comes in.
Kick is triggering.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the curse of the big 808 kick eating the rest of the cushion.
In his defence, it's the wrong track. He says, "Oh, the wrong mix." So, in his defence, but interesting.
Okay, well,
It reminds me of kind of early Northern Exposure-y stuff.
It's got a touch of the Selected Ambient Works 1 Aphex Twin. You know, there was
can't use that mix because he didn't didn't make it available for download. You gotta...
Can we not stress anymore, please? When you're sending us SoundCloud links, make it available for download so we can get it in. Thank you.
So I guess just to finish off my exciting and very insightful point there, if you were to dig out Selected Ambient Works 1, there is a track that has very much. I can't remember the name. I'm sorry. Maybe it's called Xtal or something. Fuck knows. It's all those stupid Aphex Twin names. It sounds a lot sort of that vibe, that kind of like big 808s whooshed out. But I think it's one of the tracks that he actually put down on a cassette tape, and they couldn't find a better master. He'd like given it to a mate, and that was the only copy that existed. And it kind of ground in that sort of horrible gritty sort of sound to the whole thing, and it balanced out the kind of big whooshy gorgeousness.
Okay.
So maybe like dig out Selected Ambient Works 1, find the track, you'll know as soon as you hear it, and think about that. Think about like sort of just bringing something which balances out all that kind of lovely, warm sort of booty stuff, and kind of goes and just gives it some life.
Yeah, just something jarring, something a bit sort of like, what is that? Yeah. So
not all the time necessarily, like in and out, whatever, but just something. Yeah.
So, thank you very much, Matt, for joining us tonight on Sonic Academy.
Yeah. There wasn't really many snares. I mean, to be honest, the last track was the only one that was. I mean, there was a bunch of kicks without a clap or a snare. I mean, I don't want to sound in any way ungrateful, but you got me on here specifically to give people a fucking hard time about their snares. Did you fucking get my teeth into?
That was the only reason you signed up to this. Is there going to be loads of snares? And we said, yeah, it's Snare Among Us.
Tonight. For my lawyers.
Yeah. Guys, is that it tonight?
That's it. Yes, that's us.
That's it tonight.
Yeah.
That's us tonight. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure as always. Thank you to Matt for taking time out from eating sausages and mash to join us and sleeping. His course is out tomorrow. We're going to play out with a history of the OBXA, and Arturia have just released their virtual version of it. What did you think of it, Matt?
Oh, it's lovely.
Did you?
Yeah, it's lovely. It's just such a playable synth. It's as I say in the course about 10 times, it's like a guitar player's synth. It's not some super deep Euro rack thing. It's literally a keyboard. You turn it on, you set the knobs, and then you play it with your fingers.
Okay.
And like Moogs, it just sounds nice. It's like, I think it's the reason it was so big in America is just like the guys who had Moogs heard the Oberheims and went, oh, that's the poly of that. Oh, fucking great, brilliant. I want that.
And it's one of the synths you probably don't own, is that right?
Yeah, because Oberheim are kind of thin on the ground here, aren't they? They didn't have any decent distributors back in the day. So, in terms of like compared to even like say Profits and stuff, there's just not many over here.
And on the marketplace for $4,000, an OB, I don't know if it was an XA or no, just an OBX.
Yeah.
First one.
Yeah. They're expensive and they're gorgeous, but they're just dead simple. They're like a Profit 5, just like it doesn't do that much, but what it just does really nicely. And it's the front panel's laid out with tons of buttons. You can just stab in a split second, quickly change the sound and carry on playing. So yeah, nice machine.
Yeah.
So guys, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Again, if you want to get your demos in for review next week, please send them to live@sonicacademy.com. Please tune in next week because we're going to reveal the winners of our sample competition. We also have some very big news.
How big? How big?
Well, it's probably that big. I've probably oversold it now, haven't I?
I can't even remember. I think you told me earlier, but I've forgotten now.
I can't wait.
It can't be that big if you've forgotten. Unbelievable. So tune in next week. You have some big news and something for everyone on Sonic Academy. Thank you to Matt for joining us. Thank you to Phil for recovering just in time to do the show after going out last weekend. Matt went out last weekend and he's still.
I was in my house.
Oh right, sorry. You're in your house. You had a bit of a party in your house, and it took him 5 days to recover.
Fucking hell.
We're all getting so bloody old. So, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much to Phil, to Brian and Will, obviously in the background again, and thank you to you for joining us, sending us your tracks. Please get it into Sonic Academy live at sonicacademy.com. Don't forget to subscribe, hit some bell button, and hit some like button, and do whatever you need to do.
Yep.
That's it from us, and we're going to play out with the course tomorrow is going to be how to use OBXA V by Arturia, by the wonderful synth head that is Matt. I hope you all stay safe and see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Oberheim Electronics starts with Tom Oberheim himself. Born in Kansas in 1936, pretty much with a soldering iron in his hand, by the age of 8 he was disassembling radio sets, and by 11 he was so skilled he was working part-time in a shop repairing them. At 12 he made his own oscilloscope, and he began making hi-fi sets for all his friends. Now, by comparison, at age 8 I was still pretty impressed if I could make a sandwich. At age 11, I bought an old reel-to-reel tape recorder at a jumble sale, and I managed to electrocute my mouth on it. At age 12, I was kind of stunned if I could spell oscilloscope. If I'd tried to make my friends hi-fis, I probably would have burnt down their houses. So when you hear Tom Oberheim on YouTube doing these interviews where he's incredibly modest, do bear in mind he's a real electronics whiz. Enrolling at UCLA, over the next 9 years he took a degree in computing and physics, and by the time he graduated in 1965, he was actually able to build a computer from scratch. Whilst at UCLA, he took some classes in music appreciation, and hanging out with musos, he often helped build a guitar amp or a PA just as he'd done in the past for friends. Around this time, Oberheim became the LA dealer for ARP, and thus he was introduced to synthesizers. Tinkering with the ARP 2600 led Oberheim to put together a digital sequencer, the DS2, 144-note digital sequencer, which was quite impressive at the time, given that the typical analog sequencer was rarely more than 16 steps. It did create its own problem, however. Once a synth player had their machine tied up with the DS2 playing all the notes, what were they left to do with their hand? No, it's not that kind of video. To resolve this, Oberheim invented the Synthesizer Expander Module, or SEM, a simple, cheap, keyboardless synth that could be added to a player's rig. And also around this time, Maestro's parent company decided to cancel all future pedal orders with Oberheim. In response to the loss of much of his business, Oberheim rebranded his existing stock and released his own effects range, but moved most of his focus onto synthesizers and created a range of instruments to hold his SEMs, namely the Oberheim 2-voice and 4-voice, the world's first polyphonic synthesizers. The first player to get their hands on a 4-voice was Stevie Wonder, who instantly bought one of the prototypes after the demo. By 1976, sales had grown, and Oberheim customers included Herbie Hancock and Joe Zawinul, and the range expanded to include the 8-voice. Despite a positive start to 1978 with the OB1, the world's first mono-synth with patch storage, by the end of the year things were looking very rocky for Oberheim. The release of the Prophet 5 had essentially eaten the entire polyphonic synth market, and the company was rapidly approaching bankruptcy. With only a matter of months in hand, Oberheim created the OBX by the summer of '79 as a last chance to save the ailing company. At that year's NAMM show, the newly unveiled OBX generated $1 million in sales in the first afternoon. From this solid foundation, Oberheim went on to release a series of popular polysynths. The OBXA followed in 1980 and the OB8 in 1983, and then the Matrix series of polysynths. The OBX and XA were a cornerstone of the 80s rock and pop scene, finding favour with Depeche Mode, the Eurythmics, Gary Newman, Prince, The Police, Queen, and of course Mr. Edward Van Halen. Oberheim also expanded their range by releasing some of the most sought-after sample-based drum machines, the DMX and DX. A new sequencer, the DSX, allowed for the OB8 and the DMX to be connected together to create a pre-MIDI network of separate instruments. Fast forward to 2008 and the Red Bull Music Academy asked him to give a lecture. Taking along a dusty old SEM retrieved from his attic, he gave a talk focusing on his part in the history of synthesis. And at the end, just like in the 60s, a few musicians walked up and said, "Could you make one of those for me?" And so he was back in the synth business again. Expecting to make maybe 3 or 4 a month, it turns out that 3 years later he'd sold 800 SEMs. Encouraged by this, he reworked the 2-voice complete with MIDI and patch memories. Most recently, he collaborated with Dave Smith of Sequential to bring out the OB6 analog polysynth. Finally, last year, Gibson, owners of the Oberheim trademark since the late 80s, gave Tom back his trademark name for use on all his products, in recognition of his contribution to music technology. Well deserved for a company that achieved so many firsts in the synth market. And now 40 years on, it looks like the OBXA is set to return in a variety of forms. One of Behringer's more ambitious clone projects seeks to deliver a full hardware keyboard version, and Arturia have put an OBX that combines the best of the X, the XA and the 8 right inside our laptops, so let's have a play.